Hello.
We're live.
All right. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Another new episode in the new year.
Hopefully your week has been going well. How's your week been, Danielle?
It's been very chaotic.
But also great.
Also great. I have been working myself into a little bit of a tizzy. I've worked myself into a little bit of a wall, but I've been accomplishing a lot. So that feels really good. I hit, Savannah's like smiling at me. I'm like, I don't want to talk about myself. She's like, talk about yourself. I'm like,
It's a big accomplishment.
I'll have a little moment. I had a video today hit 1 million views, which is just unfathomable. It's kind of exciting. And then last month, I officially had 1.76 million views total on all my videos. So little accomplishment. I'm not really good at acknowledging those moments. I just kind of like breeze through them. And I'm like, all right, what's my next goal?
Or you're like, I could have hit more.
Yeah, my goal is to hit 1.77 and I didn't. And I was like, damn it. And everyone's like, that was still really good.
That's insane. A million views on one video.
I know. That was really exciting. That's a pretty big goal to hit. So I'm like, of course, the way my brain works, I'm like, okay, so what's my next goal? 2 million. Okay, let's do it.
Easy. You can do it. I just saw, I've been following this, I don't know her name, Little Chef on Insta. Her name is not Little Chef, but
like the chef on Instagram that everyone's obsessed with, like Emily Mariko.
Oh my God, I don't know. I made her crispy rice and eggs this morning. But anyway, she has a video that has 12.5 million views.
That's nuts.
If she can do it, so can you.
Yeah, just give me a little bit of time. I'll be hitting that milestone next.
Well, we're on like opposite vibes right now. I'm like, I am so well rested. I am so centered. But I have not hit 1 million views. So
well, I was telling her before this, though, it's almost sometimes better when I'm really tired when I record because I'm like very calm, very chill. Like I don't get as nervous because my body like can't even like process things as well. So,
so
we'll see how this goes. I also was dealing with Facebook shit all day, so my brain is kind of mushed by that. But it's gonna be great.
Mark Zuckerberg,
I know.
at it again.
Taking over. I know, taking over my brain.
Making it impossible to get anything done.
I know.
Well,
but today we're talking about inspired action,
yes.
Which I know super well, so I'm not gonna fuck this up.
Why would you say that? You feel nervous about it?
No, it'll be fine. It'll be great.
Totally believe you. All right. Well, today we're talking about inspired action, which is basically the act of following your inner guidance system or your intuition. We talk about your intuition a lot just because it's something that we've bonded over the past couple of years, really just choosing to live our life based on the pings we get internally on what we should do and what our next decision should be in life, and not looking for validation or the answers outside of ourselves. So once you get that answer internally from your intuition, that is when you take the next step and you take action.
Exactly. And this is such an important step because, you know, in the world of manifestation and law of attraction, we talk about, oh, if you dream it, if you believe it, it will happen, which we do absolutely believe in. But the action steps are the most important part. So this is, like Savannah said, taking those little internal pings, those nudges that we get about something that we should pursue or, look into further, and actually taking the step to do the thing. And when we did our intuition course, I like to talk about breadcrumbs. And what I mean by that is like taking those little steps and you get a little breadcrumb and you're just following the little trail of breadcrumbs until you finally reach those bigger goals.
Yeah. And Danielle mentioned earlier, to me, not to you yet, this is one of the universal laws. So there's how many?
There's 12, I think.
Don't quote us.
I know.
We think there's 12. And they're really, really, interesting. I'm sure you've heard of a lot of them, like law of attraction, manifestation. Those are both very popular.
Yeah.
But
probably the most popular.
Yeah.
Of all of the universal laws. Yeah.
But law of inspired action is also a law, right? Is it inspired action?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. It is. Yeah, which is super cool because we didn't even know that. And we have actually done a masterclass on inspired action before. So it's something that's like been a part of kind of our intuition course and further educating on this. And so to be like, oh shit, it's actually a universal law, like that's a pretty big deal.
We were literally just following intuitive pings and
we're
taking
like, this
action.
feels important. This feels like something we should talk about. And
well, we've had people ask us in the past, just kind of try and pick our brains of like, how have you gotten to where you are? How have you just made the decisions you've made in your life? How can I do that too? And I know from experience of looking outward at someone else, and like, you can be inspired by someone, but not comparing yourself to someone. And so it gets really kind of clunky and uncomfortable because it's like, there's nothing you can do the same way I did that's going to put you in the same place I'm in. Like, you have to start listening to your own internal guidance system, asking your intuition, your own questions to get where you need to be, because it's going to be so incredibly different than where we are.
Yeah.
Maybe you can take inspiration from that and start asking questions like, hey, like, how can I start a creative business? Or I don't know, how can I start living more by my intuition? Asking yourself those things and waiting for that internal answer.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you take a route less traveled like we have, you really have to rely on that because there is no checklist. There is no, oh, first you do this and then you do this. Like Savannah said, it is very different and you have to kind of forge your own path. And that's a really exciting thing, but also obviously overwhelming and intimidating. And so I think by breaking down inspired action, it can make you aware that you are able to find your path this way. And yeah, find your own path.
Yeah. So when you start following your intuition and taking those steps, which will be the action steps, which will be the inspired action, more opportunities will open up for you. You will be presented with, I don't know, life will become more magical and more unpredictable, which is really exciting. You know, when you're taking inspired action, you're kind of taking, I mean, we still want you to like be sane and normal, but you're taking a lot of normal logic out of the equation. Like, you can't map out your life when you're following inspired action.
Yeah.
These are things where you kind of wait for the answer to arise within you, physically or mentally, wherever. A visceral feeling when you're like, oh, I should do that. And I know everyone's had an experience like that where they're like,
that gut feeling.
it's a gut feeling. Exactly. Or maybe you feel it in your heart or wherever, but you know, you can feel it. And that's one thing. And that's kind of like the law of attraction, right? What is it? Believe.
Oh, yeah. If we break down what law of attraction is, it's basically ask, believe, and receive.
So the next step,
ask, believe, receive, act.
You have to take action. So I think that's a big misconception with manifestation is people are like, why aren't the things happening to me?
I'm dreaming. I feel like it's going to be here. I'm journaling. I'm making my vision boards. Like, why isn't it here? It's like, because you have to take those action steps.
Yeah.
It's not just going to poof appear out of nowhere.
So it's super important to be brave, be courageous, and take those next steps.
Absolutely. And when I think about inspired action, I think about you're working smarter, not harder. So it's not a matter of, oh, you're going to be doing more. You're just going to be like acting, going, doing. It's when you make an action, it's very intentional. You're not just running all over the place, trying everything to see what works. You're just acting on the things that really feel like what you need to be doing in that moment.
Yeah. So when you start acting from this place, you're going to start attracting things to you that are more of an energetic match to yourself, to where you're at now. It's going to be different than who you were before. So each step you take, you're going to be changing your internal energy around you and within you. And every time you do that, you're going to get closer and closer and closer to the desire or the dream that you have. This can feel really daunting at times, but like a lot of it is just the basic day-to-day things. Like if your goal is to just be more organized, or like maybe you have bigger dreams than that, but being organized is one of those really simple, easy things that you can do.
Yeah.
I always use this example, but making your bed every morning, like, it's crazy how much different. Just, I don't know, especially if you like work from home or something, your mindset will be if you're walking in and out of your room with your bed made versus unmade.
Yeah.
Because when there is a mess around you, there's going to be a mess internally.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of these actions that we're talking about, like you said, they can be small, but it's really, to me, the intention behind them, right? So even if it is something as simple as just getting more organized or just making your bed, like if it comes with this intention of, being better or being, the best version of yourself, and that intention is really going to be so much. And you're also, when you take these little pings of inspiration, you act on them, you're really showing the universe that you trust, and you're trusting in the divine plan. You're trusting that everything is working out best case scenario, and that's when, like you said, you're going to attract those new things and those other things that you could have never even imagined.
Yeah. And then you'll look back on your life, and you're going to look back on like different versions of you. Because so much of this builds confidence, and like I said, you're acting courageously, you're acting with bravery. And maybe that person that you were before would have never taken those steps. So like you also proving to the universe that you're ready for these things. You have to get your energy right to be able to receive. And so that's a big misconception with the law of attraction. Like, just believing is one thing, but you need to put in the work. And that's why inspired action is so much nicer of a term than work. But when it comes down to it, it really is like you're in a third dimensional body on this planet to move. If you were just meant to sit around all day and believe, like you would be ethereal, like, in the ethereal realms. You don't need to be in this third dimensional body. Like you have this body to move and to create and to take action. So I think that's where within the spiritual community, there's a big misconception there where people think like, oh, I can just sit here and meditate all day. And like, you can receive a lot that way. I'm sure. I don't know. I've never tried, but I've heard other people say that works for them.
Well, it's about getting into alignment. And I think there's a lot of different ways that you can do that. But like you said, because this is tangible, we are humans on this earth. Like you do have to take some action. Otherwise, you're just going to be meditating on a mountain all day. And,
if that's what you want to manifest, if that's what you want,
if that's your goal, that if you want more peace, if you want more quiet, then, but you still have to walk up that mountain. You still have to walk up the mountain. You still have to sit there. You still have to set aside the time. There's physical steps to make these things happen.
And you had a friend do a meditation. I don't know if it's called a retreat.
The Vipassana retreat.
Oh God, that sounds awful.
Yeah, you don't talk.
I mean, to each their own. If you love that shit,
and you meditate for like 10 hours a day, and
you can't move. So that's what I was thinking. How you could be sitting in one position all day long, but how uncomfortable.
Poor little body. I know.
Anyway,
we take a little more like soft approach to things. We're like, if your body doesn't feel good in that position, move it.
Well, see, that goes hand in hand with inspired action.
Yeah.
Are you listening to someone else's rules when you're sitting there?
I know.
That's not listening to your own internal guidance system. That's listening to a rule set that someone else made for you.
That's what bothered me the most about that. Is it's not allowing people to listen when they need something. It's like, oh, you feel like you need to move? Don't do it. Don't do it.
You get punished.
Yeah, I know. Anyway. We don't believe that.
We don't believe in that.
That's not our belief system.
But also, what we do believe in is taking action when you feel inspired. That's the title of this podcast.
Yeah, and and doing what you need in every moment. We talked about doing an episode about focusing on yourself, and we kind of realized that inspired action is just so tied into that that we didn't really need to do a separate episode, because a lot of this is about focusing on yourself and listening to yourself and giving yourself permission to act when you need to act or not act when you need to act, and just really respecting that. And even if people don't understand or they're questioning your decisions, really staying true to yourself is like the key here.
Yeah. And focusing on yourself, is so important, because we can get caught up in so much comparison with other people in our lives. And when you are comparing yourself and from there making decisions for yourself, based on how other people are living, other people look, whatever, you're not going to be able to hear internally what that next action step needs to be, because it's going to be clouded by
the woulds, shoulds, coulds, like what people are telling you is the right answer.
Oh, I see so and so doing this. Should I maybe go do that? Oh, I
Yeah.
see so and so doing. Should I go do that? It's
Mhm.
like, no.
Yeah.
You need to be tapped in and tuned in to yourself so you can hear the appropriate answer for you, because it's going to be completely different than, I would guess, the majority of people around you.
Yeah. And there could be a moment where you see someone doing something a certain way, or someone that, you know, went out to find their success a certain way, and it could really resonate. And
Yeah.
you could be like, oh shit, like I need to go do that. And maybe that sparks something in you, but it needs to truly be coming from you and not just your perception of the situation.
Yeah. Being inspired rather than just comparing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Or
Well-
feeling like I have to, that there's a difference when you feel like in your body, like, oh, I have to go do that versus, ooh, I should go do that. Or
Being
like, I could,
curious.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a different feeling. Like it doesn't feel as like pressured or like, yeah. There's like patience with it when you're like, oh, like,
And you're
I
not
can go do
forcing
this.
it.
Yeah.
You're acting from a place of flow. Like
Right.
you just flow into the next thing. You're
Right.
not like getting all worked up and stressed out because you have this LOL to-do list. If you listen to last week's episode, we're
All about the to-do list.
which goes hand in hand with this, because if you are flowing into a to-do list and you feel like you understand what your action steps need to be,
Mhm.
and you've gone internally, like this morning? No, it's yesterday morning. I woke up and I knew there was a handful of things I needed to do, but I didn't know in what order.
Mhm.
So I went on a walk and I didn't listen to a podcast. I listened to music, and I just let my brain, and internally my brain and my heart, my intuition kind of guide me to like, okay, first you're going to do this, then you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But you need to give yourself space to be able to hear it, because if not, you're just going to be like, ah!
Yeah. And I want to clarify, because I was really big on the to-do list last week. When I make a to-do list, it's similar to what you said. I like to make a to-do list of like, oh, these are all the things I would like to achieve today. But then I'm a very visual person, so I like to look at them, and one of them will almost like pop out at me of like, this is the thing you do now. And then I'll like do that, and then I'll kind of take a breather, and then I'll look and it'll like, that's for how it works for me, is like, I need to see it written down. And if I don't get something done, like it's not a big deal. Like I try not to hold that pressure on myself, but yeah, there is the flow and the structure that needs to happen with this. It's not like, oh, you have to get all these things done. It's like, okay, what is going to flow the most in this moment?
Yeah, because when you start living by your intuition and taking inspired action, I see life kind of like, you can set yourself up with a blueprint, and especially when it comes to like the next, I don't know, 6 months or so, like really focus on what you want that part of your life to look like, and have intention for what you want your life to be like and what you want to accomplish and all those things. But you cannot plan your life out the way you think you can.
Yeah.
I think we're kind of falling out of that stereotypical way of thinking, especially in America. It's like, the checklist again of things you need to get done as a human, as an adult, whether that's like have kids, get married, buy a house, it's like, it's not gonna happen the way you think it is when you start living by your intuition and taking inspired action.
Yeah, and you can still have goals, and you should have goals, but I think the key here is just keeping a really open mind.
Yeah.
And not holding expectations around what everything's going to look like.
Because it's going to turn out better than you could have even imagined. That's the thing.
When you put yourself in a box of like, this is how I want this thing to happen, like you are just limiting yourself so much. And I think that's like from our personal experience. Like we used to do that, and I feel so much more open to possibilities now, that we've kind of moved into this phase of just like, I'd say just like openness. Wouldn't you agree? Just within like our business and just our projects, like we're more open to who knows how it's going to happen.
I'd say I have like 3 months of my life planned out at a time, and not even planned out. It's like a blueprint. Like I said, it's
an
like
idea of like,
here's a rough idea with goals that I have, maybe 1 to 2 goals that are really sticking out, and knowing I'm going to wake up every morning, taking inspired action. And then from there, I'm going to let life unfold, because life is a co-creation with the universe, and you're not here to do it all. Yeah. You're here to show up and to take action on those things internally when you feel the ping and the push to do something. But then also you're here to receive. So allowing the universe to give you what you rightfully, I don't like to use the word deserve because there's no one here who like deserves more.
What you're
What you're
worthy of.
worth. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to take up resources. You're allowed to express yourself. And when you do all those things, the energy will return back to you. And like I said, you can't predict what's going to happen, but it'll be magical. And that's when you start to like really believe in the magic of life.
Yeah. That's so funny because right before you were going to say that, I was going to say, leave room for the magic. Like literally. And then you said the same thing. It's like, don't hold yourself to these structures that don't leave room for like these magical moments to occur. And that's like where the flow and alignment comes in that, inspired action allows you to have.
Yeah. Now it's like 3 years, I want to say, of us truly living by this. And I think I first heard about this idea. That's literally what led me to you and to San Luis Obispo and to our studio at the time. It's like I had an internal ping. I needed to move. And it's so funny because it's led me and opened so many doors to like where we are now. And it's just endless. Our whole entire life has now become one inspired action that opens the door to another thing, that opens the door to another thing. And I couldn't have predicted any of it. Any of it.
Like a year and a half ago, like our lives were so different. We could have never even imagined.
A year ago.
I know. It's wild. We're just here for the ride.
We had an intention of moving in together. And
I know that was a crazy one, actually.
We wrote a list.
We had no idea how it was going to happen.
No idea. We had a list.
We had no money.
No money.
No idea where it was going to be.
Just feeling really lost. And I think if anything, if that's where you're at now, that experience of last year I could tell our chapter at the time in San Luis Obispo was coming to a close with our studio, and I was panicking. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where I was going to be. And instead of now I look back and I'm like, oh, sweet little thing. If you could have just trusted like a little more. And I still showed up with action. And I think that's why we moved through it and we found our next thing, because I didn't get stuck. But also there was a lot of uncomfortability that didn't need to happen. And
not a lot of confidence in the moves we were making and the action steps we were taking. We're like, I guess we'll do this.
I guess this is what we need to do.
Yeah.
Like, here we go. But when you start to, I don't know, live this way and start, and in my opinion, this is the only like true way to live. You can live in other ways, plan your life out and be like super logical based, not listening to your emotions, because this is, this has to do with really kind of tapping into your emotional state and seeing how things make you feel. Then it can be, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It can be a lot more, you can think you're going the safe way, but you're going to come out the other end kind of feeling like, I wonder, I think there's a lot of wondering, like what ifs.
Yeah. Because it is the scarier route to take, because there is so much unknown.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's tuning into those like subtle emotions and feelings, and that's not easy to do. And that's not easy sometimes in the beginning to trust that that's actually what you're feeling. And so, yeah.
So I think like the scarier and the darker it is, the more magic that can be on the other side.
Yeah. And I think it's when you hold the trust, when you're trusting, even in those dark moments or in the uncertain moments, like you will be rewarded. I promise you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, everything that we're going through globally right now too, with the pandemic, it's like, this is such an opportunity to, one, you can focus on like all the negative all the time. You could totally do that. And I know like I've done that before, where I just get so like frustrated and upset and like, why is this happening to me right now? And all of us like, oh my gosh, I wish I could just go live my life the way it was before. But also I think it's really presented an opportunity for us to really hone in on who we are as individuals and get clear with our behaviors, our like daily habits, our emotional state and how we have full control over that, and really learning how to be in control, not just let your body and your emotions override. Like, you have control how you feel. And at least for me, this time has really taught me, like, are you going to be in a faith mindset, or are you going to fall into the fear mindset? Because when you do have faith and you on some level, I know this really frustrates people when they hear this, that everything happens for a reason. And I've experienced, immense sadness before, and traumas and all of those things, but I look back on it and it's like I would not be the person I am today without those things. So if you can find even a glimmer of light and hope and faith in your life, I think that'll set you up for then being able to, trust the universe, trust the co-creation, and then from there, ask your intuition what you need to be doing next. From there, take action.
And that trust just builds. And so when you are kind of in a better standing, you're able to take bigger and bigger leaps of faith, I would say, because you don't fall into the fear as easily. And like, that's when really I feel like the most happens, when we just are like, all right, like we're going to just trust, like, even though it's scary, and we're going to take these action steps, even though I really don't know fucking why or whatever, and that's like where all the good stuff happens, is like on the other side of that.
Yeah. And if you can't even get to a place of feeling, like inspired to start asking your intuition anything or take action, it's like, start with just maybe writing a gratitude list. I know when I feel really lost and uninspired, I will just, or like frustrated with where I'm at. I have to look around and be like, okay, I've already created this much for me. It's like, I want all these other things too, which is great. But at the same time, what can I be grateful for right now? I just had this thought pop into my brain. I watched this video on this man, I can't remember his name, but he was talking about how desire is basically the killer of being in the present. If you desire too much outside of you, it's like you're not going to ever be able to feel grateful for the present moment right now. So if you can snap yourself out of that and just start writing a gratitude list for all the things that you are grateful for and feel blessed to have in your life, then your energy, your alignment and your energy will start to align even more with feeling inspired.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but finding that balance between having your dreams and having your goals, but don't let them take you away from the present.
Yeah.
Like, that's so important. And that's something I was talking about earlier, I struggle with, because I hit a goal and I'm like, okay, what's next? And like, you need to have that moment sometimes to be like, look at how far I've come. Like,
I'm like shaking you. I'm like, hello, 1 million views. You crazy?
Yeah, because it's so easy to just be on to the next. But the reality is that there's always going to be something more. There's never going to be a point where you're going to be fully satisfied if you can't be fully satisfied in any moment.
It's such a paradox, because that's what's so beautiful about being human at the same time. It's like how much we can create and how much we can change our own lives. And like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I achieved some major goals this past season, and I had a friend be like, whoa, like, and I'm already being like, okay, so what's next? And she's like, whoa, look where you're at now. Like,
I know.
Also with what I was doing, it's like, you can't really get much higher or like past that. I like hit, so it's kind of like, oh, whoa, I really do need to like soak up these moments, because you just kind of, I mean, and that's also like the energetics of when people talk about the third dimension versus the fifth dimension and how we're all kind of ascending to this higher vibrational state. When you're in the third dimension, you are really focused on things outside of you. You're focused on like wanting more and the future or the past. That's where you can get really stuck. But when you're in the fifth dimension, you're really focused in on the present moment. And that's when the heaven on earth feeling kind of hits you, where you're like, there's nowhere else I would rather be. And this is exactly where I want to be and where I'm supposed to be. And you feel so safe and held. So I think all of us practicing that, even if you like, there's days where I don't feel that, but then there's maybe 1 millisecond in a day where I remind myself like, no, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Even right now, as I say it, it's such a reminder. Like,
Yeah.
anything.
Sometimes it's so obvious. Like, sometimes I'll think about it. I'll be like, oh my God, like, I feel so lucky. I feel so happy with where I'm at. Like, there's literally nothing more than I need. And then all the other external stuff comes creeping in slowly. And then sometimes it's like all consuming. And then you have to like pry yourself back to like, no, but look at the present. Look at where I am.
That's where human evolution becomes so interesting too. Like, I know my mom's made a comment before about like the way I think and the way I act. And she's like, wow, like I didn't start thinking like that till like my 30s or 40s. And this was like in my early 20s that she would say that. And Danielle and I were joking, like, oh, whoa, like our kids are going to have this mindset at like 12. So with each generation, I think it's going to, you know, just how we're going to evolve, hopefully, is in a more enlightened state.
Yeah. And I remember my dad, when I was growing up, because he owned his own business and he was like one of the hardest workers I've ever met. Like, ran his whole business by himself. He did absolutely everything. You know, worked up until, you know, just recently when he finally retired. And I remember him telling me, he was like, my whole life, I was always like working for that next thing. Like, he really wanted a house and then he got a house, and then he really wanted a pool and he got a pool, and like all these things. And he was like, I never let myself just like soak it in and appreciate it. Like, I was always on to the next. And he's like, now I'm like, you know, I think he's almost 70, and he's like, and I'm like, what did I just do for my whole life? Like, I was just so focused on these goals, and I never really gave myself permission to just like enjoy them. And that was like, damn.
Goes back to the presence. And it's such a lesson for you and anyone else listening. It's like, whoa, you can take these I mean, that's also being human is crazy. It's like, we have all these records of other people's experiences in life, and we can learn through their experience, so we don't we don't have to have that experience.
Don't have to repeat their mistakes.
Yeah. I didn't want to use that word mistake because it just is, you know, and like, I'm sure he's accomplished even more than what his parents did, you know? But it's a trip. It's really crazy.
It is.
You know, when you were saying that, I was thinking, just like the imagery, I've seen an image somewhere where it's like at birth, from birth to death, it's like one circle. And wherever you enter the circle, it's the same place you're going to end, which is basically just going back to source energy. So no one's going anywhere different than anyone else, but we all get to choose what that experience while we're in the circle is going to be like.
We're all here to learn lessons.
Yeah. But also, like, we have the discernment and the opportunity to create whatever life we want to create during those moments. So that's what's so fascinating about being a human on this earth. I mean, you know, it's crazy. I have family members who have decided that they are going to live in their own personal hell for the rest of their life. And it's like, damn, what a lesson that is. Because it's like a perfect example of what I don't want to do. And then I also have family members where it's like, you talk to them and it's like talking to a literal angel. And you're like, wow, they love their life.
You create your own reality, which is such a trip. And it's like hard to wrap your mind around, but it's like, what is your inner world like? Like, what are your thoughts? What are your actions? Like, what are you doing? Like, that's what you are creating, and that's what you're attracting more of. It's like you said, if you're attracting hell, you're gonna get hell. If you're attracting heaven, you're gonna, you know. And obviously in the human way, it's all you know, all sides. But
well, and I just love this kind of stuff, because I mean, that's where practicing presence is so important, because that is where you will get that heaven on earth feeling from. Heaven is not a place, it's a state of being. So when you can practice that, and you can practice, I'm going to try and be as present as possible. Like, I know at some point I spoke about when we went to outside lands, and this works for scarier moments or like the most joyous moments you'll ever have. It's like, this too shall pass. So not taking any moment for granted and really soaking it up. And if it's bad, flowing through it, let it flow through you. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. But also, if it is one of the most joyous moments of your life, it's like, wow, be moved to your core, because this moment is so juicy and delicious and amazing, and you are so grateful to be having it.
Yeah.
So to bring it full circle, it's like you will have more and more of those moments when you start taking inspired action.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your intuition will ping, it'll give you that nudge. And from there, you have to be courageous enough to take the action, because that's what we're here for.
That's what you got to do. And just a little note, because we keep talking about action, action, action. Sometimes you will get a ping to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to listen to those too. So sometimes you want to push and you want to take action and you want to go after it, and you get a little nudge, like maybe it's not the right time, or just hold on, or slow down, or, and those.
It's so true. And we talk about like energetic tests too. Like the universe may present you something to see if you're going to stay. Like, in my opinion, you may be presented something based on either the karmic loop that you're in or the energy you're presenting at the time, where it's like, hey, do you want to do this thing? And you shouldn't.
Mm.
But the past you, the older you,
Mm-hmm.
the previous you would have said, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take it. I'm going to do it. Whatever the opportunity or situation is. But to level up to that next version of you, and you feel that intuitive ping of like, pass, sit, don't do anything right now, actually.
Set boundaries.
Yeah.
And that can be so hard. I know for me, I'm such a people pleaser. Like telling people no is like the hardest thing ever. But I've gotten more aware of like the people or the things that I need to say no to. And even though it's really hard, because I never want to disappoint anyone, like you feel so much better afterwards. Because if you were to go do that thing, I guarantee you would feel icky afterwards.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good indication when you take inspired action. How do you feel after you do that thing? If it is truly inspired action, you will probably feel really good afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And if it didn't come from that place, it came from a place of like, oh, I need to do this, or I should do this, chances are you're not going to feel good afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also ask yourself, we talk about, and we should do an episode on the higher self and really help people tap into that. And tapping into your higher self can be so beneficial and useful, because you can ask your higher self, I'm caught up in my words. When we use intuition, that's so universal for so many other words.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those is your higher self. I think your higher self communicates with you through your intuition. And your highest self is just like
the best version, most pure version of yourself, like untouched by your humanness.
And I think this is a great opportunity where we can do an episode on really getting people tapped in and tuned into what that version is of you.
Yeah.
Now I'm sidetracked. Oh gosh, what were we talking about?
Oh, I think you were just talking about like the correlation between your higher self and
you were saying before that I'm not sure. Ask your higher self what you should be doing, and
when I was saying that if you have an experience that either makes you feel good or icky afterwards.
It's not coming to me.
But I think that's something we haven't mentioned, is like you can use that as like a meditation, or like you can look at your higher self as someone you can like ask advice for, and whether that comes through journaling or meditation or just those like quiet moments of feelings, I think. I think we should do an episode about that.
Yeah, but I remember now.
Okay.
Thanks for taking the reins for a second. So in a situation or opportunity that's presented to you, ask yourself, would your higher self do this? Or the version of you that you want to be in the future, or what the version of you that you're trying to achieve, would they take that action or take that opportunity right now? And if the answer is no, sit down, put the brakes on.
Humble.
Be humble and just chill.
Yeah.
We're in such a hustle culture where we feel like we have to work, strive, like keep going. What do I have to do now? And it's like, it's okay to do nothing sometimes. And I think so much of the energetic work behind who you are as a person and raising your vibration and ascending to the next level is making sure that your energy is taken care of. And if you're not, I'm speaking to you right now, Danielle. If you are not well rested, then it's going to be harder to get there. You're going to hit these walls.
Yeah.
And I think, but at the same time, I think you've hit a new level where it's like you're having that experience of like, oh, whoa, if I'm going to be this person who gets 1 million views every month, how am I going to have to show up for myself in a different way?
Yeah, absolutely. And getting clear with that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
Because hashtag inspo, if I could get 1 million views, that'd be so sweet. I'm excited for when that happens.
Well, and I think like a big reminder for myself too is so much is timing. And like for me personally, when I try and push, like I have to remember like the things that are going to hit when they're going to hit at the right time.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to, push, like I feel like once I kind of let go of expectations and just started enjoying the content I was making and doing it more from a place of being excited about it than from a place of like, I want this to get so many views. That's when things started working. And I think there was like just a divine timing in that I had to respect.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I have to remind myself when I do push too much, because it's like, chances are you wake up in the morning and you're feeling like shit, you're not going to create something that's going to be like earth shattering. So just chill out. Take a nap.
Chill out and take a nap.
And try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
And if you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh my God. Because like most of the videos I made last month came from a place of me waking up in the morning with like the biggest, like, oh my God, I need to make this video. I need to make it right now. I'm so excited about it. It's going to be so good. And like, that's where good stuff comes from.
And then towards the end, you became so obsessed with this number.
It was 10:30 at night. I had an hour and a half left before like my month started over for the views. And I was just obsessing. My boyfriend's like, make another video. I'm like, I'm going to make another video. And was it one of my best videos? Probably not. Probably not. So,
but we're learning. Like you said, we're all here to learn. There's no mistakes in life.
Exactly.
It's so true. No, but honestly, like look back on, I could keep saying that. And I know that like probably resonates with anyone listening. Look back on the version of you 6 months ago and you're going to be like, what the hell? Look what all you've done.
I know, it is crazy how time works like that. Like it feels like it goes by in a blink of an eye, but then you're like, oh my gosh, I was such a different person. Like who is that person?
Well, and time is literally, in the quantum physics world, time is literally
doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist, but it's only a part of this reality. It's a part of being on Earth. It's a part of like having gravitational pull like down on us and creating this like linear lifespan. It's crazy. Life is crazy.
I know.
So, I mean, and when you get stuck in these places of, what am I trying to say? Basically, sidebar, new note, traditional action versus inspired action. What does that look like?
Yeah, let's talk about that, because when we say action, I mean, what a broad term. So how do we tell if it's inspired
like
action?
Yeah,
like
running, jumping, like verbs.
Yeah. Go outside and jump around. Okay, so basically, and I think we talked about this already, but I think it's helpful to kind of like break it down a little bit. So traditional action is going to be very logical, very like a set plan that someone handed you on a piece of paper. Do A, B, and C, right? And on the other hand, inspired action, you're kind of making your own list based on what feels good.
Yeah. You can be in traditional action. You can be, like I said, in the hustle mindset versus the flow mindset. So you're going to be like pushing a lot harder to get to where you want to go. And it's not going to be as joyful and fun.
Yeah. And like we were saying, like it's traditional action can be more of, it feels more forced. Like there's something telling you have to, it's pushing you towards it and you're kind of like fighting it a little bit because you don't really want to. Where inspired action, obviously inspired, you're feeling driven, you're feeling like this is what I want to do. I'm excited to go do it. This energizes me. This excites me.
Yeah. You're going to be asking with traditional action, asking for advice and external validation outside of yourself. You're going to be asking for answers and guidance outside of yourself. And I think traditionally as children, you have to ask permission to do everything. You have to ask your parents or ask your guardian, whoever it is, can I do this thing? What do you think? And I think this is this new way of living and being that we're all, if you're listening to this podcast, you've probably applied this to your life already in some way where you're like, no, like I have the answers within myself. I'm going to take inspired action based on what my body, what my soul blueprint is telling me. And so you're going to be asking guidance from within, which can be
asking your higher self.
Intimidating at times, but just got to start.
Yeah. You got this. I think the biggest intimidating thing for me when I started this was like, what if I ask and I just like don't hear anything?
Yeah.
And you know what? In the beginning, sometimes that's just the way it is. And like, sometimes it just comes to you at random moments.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not like you're sitting there and you're meditating, you're like, what should I do about this? And sometimes, like, in my personal experience, I haven't heard shit. But then, give me an hour or two and I'll be sitting and doing something and something will just like pop into my brain like, oh, I should go do that. Mm-hmm. So don't be hard on yourself, because I know that was hard for me in the beginning to feel like it's just like silence. Like, and nothing's coming to me.
This isn't an excuse to just bop around your life and to not finish things. Like finish the things you've set out to do. Have consistency in your life, because that's when you will really watch things flourish.
Yeah.
But at the same time, this is where your to-do list can come in handy, because you can write down that ping and be like, oh, I should get to that next. Or maybe you do go do that thing and then come back and finish the other. When you're coming from a logic-based or the traditional action mindset, you're going to have expectations through the wazoo. You're going to be expecting the world of whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Because if I'm showing up for this thing, then it better show up for me in this way. Mm-hmm. And you just have like this pressure on what you're doing. But when you start doing inspired action, like we said, you kind of release half of the responsibility to the universe, and you're like, all right, I did my part. Now you're going to do your part. Like, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And doing that with confidence, and then you're excited for what's going to show up.
It's like a duet. I don't know anything about singing, but it's like a duet, and all you have to do is perfect your side of the duet.
Harmonize.
And then you're just like, I hope my other person's got it. Like that's their problem. They're going to harmonize. They're going to do it. But all I have to worry about is me. I don't got to worry about the whole song.
Just got to learn your lines. Yeah. The universe will learn theirs.
It's going to be a beautiful harmony.
It's going to be beautiful. I'm so excited to hear. I was going to say, should we harmonize?
No.
No, not today.
I haven't practiced my side of that yet.
All right. Well, we noticed this last episode, and I think this is a great opportunity to note this again. Mm-hmm. If you would like to take our intuition course for free.
Oh, yeah.
That's right, folks. I said for free.
Do you love free things? Because we have something free for you.
Yes. Then go leave a review on iTunes. Let us know what you think of the podcast. Give us a 5-star rating, hopefully. If not, we will humble ourselves. But once you do that, take a screenshot or take a picture of your review, DM it to us on Instagram, or email us at theauthenticsouls@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. At The Authentic Souls on Instagram.
Yes. Yeah. And we will send you the intuition course in an email.
For free. You get a whole 35-page handbook, and you get over 2 hours of video content, and we're going to send that all to you for free.
Yes.
We just want to see your little reviews. We want to know what you think.
And more people living this way, I think, is just going to create like a more magical world. Because imagine if everyone starts listening to their intuition and taking action from that place, the world will be so magical, like we were saying. That is when truly...
Yeah. Comparison can just like go out the window, because we all just appreciate and understand that we're all doing our best and doing our thing. Yeah.
It'll feel like Disneyland every day. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a place. It's a state of mind.
I don't really love Disneyland, so that one's not really clicking.
Imagine Disneyland when you were 5.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. When you were like, oh my God, a princess. It's like, you're just going to see everyone acting from their intuition, and it's going to feel so
If you want to be a princess, you can be a princess. If you want to be, I don't know anything else at Disneyland, what else could you be?
First thing that came in my head was Lilo and Stitch.
If you want to be Lilo, if you want to be Stitch, you get to do that.
Yeah. If you want to be Winnie the Pooh. All right. On that note,
I feel like hopefully we've inspired you. I know I'm inspired to go take some action.
I know this is a great reminder.
After I take a nap, after I get a good night's sleep tonight.
That's what your intuition's screaming at you.
know.
Go to sleep, Danielle. That's the thing. Your intuition is, I mean, it will scream at you sometimes, but a lot of the time it may just be a subtle whisper.
Mhm.
And if you are not allowing yourself to hear it, it may take hitting a wall to
Mhm.
finally realize that.
It might get to the point where you can't ignore it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone,
So if you listen at the first little whisper, then you're going to be better off. But
Yeah.
that's just practice. That's just a matter of, getting into.
we'll get there.
Yeah. No one's perfect.
All right. Well,
Sending lots of love and encouragement this
yes.
week.
We will talk to you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.